country been run by a This country been run by a brother goats. The greediest of all time. They have all of self and none of the mentality. The chorus is me. Bunch of pigs and goats running this best day. And the latest deception and betrayal is really cause for alarm. They're the greediest of all time. It is plain to see the true gang and give a damn about you and me. Even big supporters crying foul and shame at all these comrades dirty in the Labour Party name. Don't business about that as long as they pocket fat. Too bad you don't agree. The goat them say it's all about me. That's the chorus. Who is the nanny gate liar? Who don't spin doctor? Parent men whose sole agenda is to make themselves richer and the poor harder. They say I know that I greedy, but I beg you don't watch me stop being hateful. Instead just be grateful. All the good them say it's all about me. That's the slogan. The big salary increase is just the latest injustice to be imposed on the people by these blundering misfits. They're selfish and greedy with no love for the needy. Cabalicious and run race, make the thing ain't got no taste. Disrespectful and pompous, arrogant and self-righteous. These goats too brave and bold, ain't got no heart, no soul. They fed on their own nest with not a care for the rest. They say it's all about me. That's the goat, them mantra. Who are the whole hog treating poor people like dog men? Who keep flying high and start leaving our sons here to die? Men. Who take the pepper, the pop and kill off the peace? Men. Enough talking about lift and elevate, just words and promises but no relief. Who lacking empathy, compassion, humility, Who think that shame, lame, rename is a sustainable strategy? Here they got them, But woe be unto these ghosts and vampires. For Ecclesiastes 5 verse 10 says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. Firstly, a grievous evil under the sun, wealth brought to the harm of its owners, lost to misfortune, so that their children have nothing to inherit. So let them carry on, God don't like ugly. Who playing, who fooling, who since June 2022, Who do the big bet and switch, divide the poor and the rich, Who raking in bigly while so many going hungry, Who are disgrace of behind blood sucking parasite, a bunch of termites, let it go them,
That God has blessed the world in peace and love and happiness, we will forever dwell. We ask for God's protection and guidance on our way. The People's Action Movement will strive from day to day. The People's Action Movement is here and here to stay. Ooh, oh, oh. We love to solve.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 17th edition of Perspectives. This program is brought to you by the People's Action Movement. We are a party that is near 60 years old. We are now in opposition, but we have had our time in government from 1980 to 85 in coalition with the NRP, and then again from 2015 to 2022 in a tri-party arrangement concept with two other political parties. So we are very much aware of what is required to govern, and we have done it, and we have done it admirably. This evening, considering that everywhere you go, people are speaking about the ridiculous prices. I mean, the cost of living is just to the roof in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have decided to dedicate this program, this edition, to speaking about the rising cost of living and how it is impacting the quality of life. Yes, people's lives have been affected because the disposable income can do so much and no more. So this evening, to talk through some of those situations, some of those experiences that people have been sharing with us, we have our political leader, Natasha Shani Gray Brooks, and obviously as a mother and as a lawyer, because I'm sure she's seen a lot of things in the court and heard of a lot of situations in the court where people just probably couldn't pay, and perhaps she herself, has seen how the justice system probably has to take effect when sometimes people just can't do anymore because they don't have the funds to. So from that perspective as well, I'm sure she would, give us some information where that is concerned. But really, we are going to break down the myriad challenges that people are facing with the rising cost of living. And as a political party, and as an opposition political party, of course, we're going to lay the blame where it needs to be, because people are crying and nobody's hearing the cry. So this evening, we are going to hold the government accountable insofar as they should have been able to bring relief to the people. And in as much as we are opposition party, we would also share some suggestions as to how people can create relief, by doing a number of things, maybe with their neighbors and their friends. But we'll share those with you as we go along, because we don't want to just, talk without finding or tabling solutions. So with that, I want us all to welcome Mrs. Gray Brooks, our political leader, to another episode of Perspectives. Welcome, Madam Leader.
Good evening, Laverne, and good evening to all those who are out there in the viewing and listening audience. It is a pleasure to be here this evening, not just as the political leader, but as an ordinary citizen who have been hearing these cries every day, because this is not just something that affects the minimum wage earners, but it affects everyone. And St. Kitts and Nevis has been known for its natural beauty, its relaxed lifestyle, but as of late, the cost of living and the standard that has affected the standard of some persons' lives. And so that has been a daily topic, whether you go into the bank, in the supermarkets, when you call your friend just to check in to see how they are doing. And so this is something that resonated with me, and it is my pleasure to be here to speak on that topic.
Thank you so much, Madam Political Leader. So when we talk about cost of living, just for context, I want to give a very simple definition of what it is we're talking about. And so really the cost of living is monies that are needed to pay for basic expenses: food, housing, taxes, transportation, healthcare. So if you are being affected by reduced income because the cost of living is rising, because you have to ensure that the monies, whether you get a salary or wage, you have to, almost like pass it out every month or every 2 weeks or every week to make sure that you can meet these basic expenses, then that is what we're referring to as the cost of living. Okay? But I think the discussion tonight is going to predominantly be centered around the cost of food in particular, because of course we can't live without food. Even the Bible says that we have to live, all we don't live by bread alone. But we're going to talk predominantly about the cost of food prices, and in the second half of the discussion we're going to talk about the transportation costs in terms of the bus fares. So we're going to start off this discussion tonight by talking about the astronomical cost of food in the supermarket these days, Madam Political Leader?
Now, whether you go from the mom and dad shops, whether you go into the large supermarkets, or if you even just try to stop into a little side hustle where someone is selling something from inside their house, you have seen the changes. The changes are, they started going up bit by bit, and then there was these drastic changes. And so this has not just affected the regular individual as they go and shop from day to day, it also may have affected the businesses, because once you have less spending power, that would affect the bottom line for businesses. Some persons may say tighten your belt, but how far can you tighten it? I mean, yes, there has been an increase in the minimum wage, but has that increase really increased the spending power for our low income earners? Now, if you look at someone who's making now $430 a week, when you look at some of the things that they have to do with their disposable income, because remember, out of that 430, you still have to take out the statutory deductions, which leave them with about maybe 390 something dollars. Now, let's be very conservative. If you say a family of two, a single mother, family of two, can $150 take her to the supermarket and get her the basic needs for her and her children for 1 week? When you look at it, sometimes you go and the prices increase by $1, $2, even $4. A tin of milk ranges from $4.75 to $5.25, depending on where you go. And so, can a tin of milk sustain a family of three during the course of the week? They would have to water down that milk so much that it would actually lose the content. So you would have to wonder if it's milk you're having. But, you know, food is essential, as Laverne indicated, but it has to be a point where persons can afford to eat or can go ahead and shop, not shop to be so extravagant, but the basic necessities. Because sometimes you find that persons have to choose, can I buy this 2 pound of chicken for my family this week? Or should I pay my landlord? Or should I pay my electricity bill? Or should I pay my water bill? And that has become the norm with many persons, that they are having to choose which need is a priority. And I didn't say I want. I'm not speaking about those persons who go to the bar every weekend, or who go clubbing, or who are preparing for carnival. I'm speaking about a regular person who is trying to make and meet the needs of their family. That has become so difficult that I really have to agree with Mr. Watley. Things are not going well.
Yeah. You use an expression at our pop-up meeting, our very successful pop-up meeting on the Bay Road 2 weeks ago, and you said that it is like a domino game, that people are shuffling, you know, they take out some and they put it across here, and they say, well, and you know what is so interesting? People's eyes are fixated on the cash, the display screen, because people are, you know, you have a set amount of money that you're prepared to spend, and so anything above that, you know, you'll hear people say, take out that, put back in this. Okay, you could go some more. I mean, it is how did we get here? And for me, and for a lot of people, even when you look at the interactions on Facebook, one of the vexing things on, especially in the context of a successful CBI program for the last 20 plus years, how did we get to this state? How did we get to a place where people have to choose between whether they can eat a chicken leg or Vienna sausage?
So talking about Vienna sausage, is $3.15 if it is not on special.
You know, I mean, so that for me is really a vexing situation, because it's like, you know, our census say that we have over 51,000 people. I think a little over 51. I think 51,320 was the last census figure 2 years ago. And I am sure if you were to do some random sampling, a significant number of households in this country would tell you how it is they're barely surviving.
Yeah.
It is real.
And I mean, first I thought it was COVID and the effects. But then I recognized, okay, the borders were open, the cruise ships were coming, people went back out and everything. And to me, right now, as I look at it, the situation, the economy is worse than when COVID had struck.
Mm-hmm.
I am a lawyer, as you indicated, and I do debt collection. And from time to time, my clients are wondering, what has happened this month? Did you collect anything? Persons just genuinely don't have any spending power. And it is heart-wrenching when a mother has to call and say, tonight I'm leaving my home to find food for my children tomorrow. That has to touch you at the core. If a mother has to leave her home with her children unattended to ensure that she can place a meal on the table the following day, that has to be something that we can't continue like this.
What is also troubling is that, there is all of these round table discussions, and people are asking, credit to the media, they're asking the hard questions, but they're not getting any answer. Because somebody recently reminded me that when a question along these very same lines about how difficult things are becoming for the average citizen, the Prime Minister's response was, no, I'm not aware of that, because people think he's got life good. I mean, it's like he's living in an alternate universe, because, sometimes you come into town on a Friday afternoon, and, after 4 o'clock people disappear. Yes. I remember old people used to say, when you don't have any money, you don't flourish.
That's so true.
You flourish when you have money, because you could afford to take out money and buy 3 warm drinks for somebody and don't even think about it. Yeah. But now people are pinching pennies.
If the Prime Minister made that statement, it shows how disconnected he is as to what is happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis under his watch. Mm-hmm. And he must be disconnected because he's getting travel allowance. Within a short space of time, under 2 years, his salary was increased to 33%. Mm-hmm. He gained an extra $4,000-5,000 when some people are not even working for $2,000. His telephone bill is paid. His vehicle bill is paid. His housing is paid. Mm-hmm. And then every time he travels, the per diem racks up. So clearly, he would not recognize what is happening to the ordinary man and women today.
Very sadly. I want us to look at the table of basic food items. I know when the Consumer Affairs Department took office, there was a basic, or rather, when the Consumer Affairs Department, really began to be active in terms of, food prices and I don't even know if they're monitoring anymore. They established a basic food basket, and so we did some homework, and we want to just have a look at some of those figures that comprise the basic food basket. So, and what we've done, we've just looked at 2 of the main supermarkets in Best Buy and Rams. And just like you said, political leader, very basic things like chicken. Well, in this instance, we selected chicken wings. At Best Buy, per pound is $4.82. At Rams is $4.70. Milk, Carnation milk, and you were right. But this time, both establishments sell the milk for the same price, $4.50. Then we have butter. I don't know, it didn't distinguish the brand of butter. But at Best Buy, based on the Consumer Affairs figures, as I said, at Best Buy the butter was $9.95 and at Rams $8.95. Then we looked at rice. And these are per pound weight. The rice at Best Buy was for $2.90, at Rams $2.10. We look at flour, $1.99 at Best Buy, $2 at Rams. We look at mac and cheese, $3.35 at Best Buy, $2.95 at Rams. Then we looked at sugar, $2.25 per pound at Best Buy, $2.10 at Rams. We look at cornmeal, $1.99 at Best Buy and $2 at Rams. And then finally we looked at toothpaste. $9.70 at Best Buy and $8.95 at Rams. Of course, when they do this comparison, they do like for like. So in terms of the toothpaste would be the
Same
toothpaste of
brand.
the same size and sometimes the same brand. But yeah, you see that even with those two main supermarkets, there's hardly any difference in the prices. And even if there's a difference, sometimes the cost of your gas, I mean, 1 in 2 and 4 between supermarkets,
no
you end
sense.
up spending more money in gas. And so even the gas at the pump these days, the price is fluctuating and it's higher more times than it's lower. So you really, I think every shopper now really has to leave home with a list. And sometimes I look at people in the supermarket, mothers who have children. You know, sometimes when children see the candies at the front by the cashier, they go crazy. And, you know, it is a psychological thing to put those things at the
Yes.
front end of the store. And recently, this child just put his hand in the box and grabbed like a whole handful of sweets. Well, his hands were small, so he probably only got about 5. And the mother said, no, choose 2. You know, and so these are the kind of constraints that people are working with. And so the question is, what can we do? What can we do? I know that we have started a discussion about a food pantry.
Yes.
And I guess when it's fully rolled up, we will share with the people. But as in terms of, you know, in terms of assigning responsibility to the government, what would you say to the government in terms of maybe some short-term solution that can be brought to bear on these food prices?
You know, Consumer Affairs has a role to play. In fact, I confirmed that they said they can't dictate that this particular item must sell for this price. However, you could put short-term things in place so as to subsidize the price for the low-income earners, so that basic food items, that you put them in a list so that persons who are in a particular bracket, they might get them for a lower cost. Or you can create a particular program where maybe they can have a card to purchase these items, so that you are aware that these things are actually being purchased for persons who are in need and who cannot afford. Apart from that, I think that the government really have to have a dialogue with the people, understand what are some of the needs, because as you go along, you continue to hear the cries of the people, and if it is there are these continuous cries, it becomes a health problem to our nation, because stress skills, having to scratch your head at night, wondering which bill you're going to pay. Eventually you're going to lose your ear, eventually you're going to lose your chain of thought, and you're not going to be able to focus. You're not going to be able to be any use to your employer, use to your children, because you are not focusing as a normal human being should. And yes, some persons might say, again, I said, tighten your belt. But the government has to put things in place to address the concerns, to address inflation, to address gas prices. I know for a long time persons might be saying, the gas prices are at a cap in terms of the cooking gas, $30 for the small tank. Now, if it is a family member cannot afford to purchase items and cook for their family members, you will find a situation where we will have more beggars on the streets.
There are more beggars.
Well, yes, there are, but an increase, because remember, as of November, a number of things are going up. You have the bus fare going up. You have Skelec putting back on the surcharge for businesses, which would impact our people. It's going to impact not just the employees but the consumers, because that price or cost has to be passed on to someone. So you're going to probably have less hours for your employees, because the employer might say, well, okay, I'm going to let Laverne work for 36 hours instead of 40 hours. And if Laverne is working for 36 hours, that cuts her pay. Or I'm going to put on $2 on my goods and services. Again, that affects everyone. So there has to be a sensitization effort by the government to basically empathize with our people, put things in place, let consumer affairs go out into the fields, see how we can assist our persons, short-term plans, subsidies, and maybe you can even do a type of maybe a incentive for persons who have children in their family. Maybe give them back. We don't do tax breaks like that, but give them back something maybe at the end of the year so that you can uplift their spirits, empower them, give them more spending power, because when your citizens and residents have more spending power, it impacts our revenue for our economy. And you would see the influx when it comes to the shopping. I mean, I don't know what's happening in terms of double salary and all that this year, but if persons don't have disposable income, who is going out to shop? Who will be shopping on reduced VAT days? What the stores are stocking up, but they will have dead stock because there is little to no money flowing. And I think it is about time that the government recognizes that there is a problem. This is not just a problem, as I said, for low income earners. It affects everybody, because even if you're working for $8,000 a month and the gas prices are going up, food is going up, everything is going up, but your salary is there at 8,000, you're going to have less spending power. And so we need to be able to secure our people. I mean, even some of the social safety net programs, they have changed drastically. They have changed in name and also in terms of context, because even the PAP, which many persons were dependent on, you find that whereas it applied to persons whose income was of a certain bracket, that has changed. The government promised when they get in, they would increase the threshold. They would also give you between $700 to $1,500. No persons are getting $600 and less. How many persons are getting $600? We don't even know. So you've moved from $500 to maybe even less, because I've heard some persons saying that because of the fact that they are now working for $2,500, the amount that they're getting is less, because all the government is doing is trying to bring you up to that $3,000 bracket. We have reached a stage in this country where too many people are suffering. They are suffering, but our ministers of government, our prime minister and our ministers of government, they don't recognize it, because their salaries have increased. They are getting allowances, and they don't understand the concerns and the needs that the men and women are facing in the supermarket. How many of them spend their own money when they go to the supermarket? So they really don't know.
No, not at all. And political leader, although you have based a lot of the discussion on people who are working, I am also thinking about those people who are retired and on a fixed income.
Yes.
So that even as the cost of living is rising, their income is fixed.
Yes.
And so you know, they're in a box. They're in a vice grip, because they're not going to get any increase on their pension, you know. And so those senior citizens are the ones sometimes that we tend to forget, but they too might just be barely getting by.
Yes.
And so it's really a sad situation all around. And because the thesis of this discussion had to do with quality of life, I was glad that you mentioned some of the social fallouts and the mental stress and the mental impact. And so, I mean, there's a lot of discussion these days about mental health and stress. But I don't know how many of our mental health professionals are able to link some of these mental illnesses back to the stress of running a family. And so when we talk about quality of life, we are really talking about the concept which captures things like your health, comfort and happiness.
Yes.
In some developed countries, they even look at pollution and things like safety. Well, luckily, knock on glass, we haven't heard of any significant crime in recent time. And so maybe a lot of us could relax a little bit, not let down our guards,
Yes.
not let down our guards, but relax a little bit where that is concerned. And so all of these things weigh on a citizen's quality of life. So somebody may just say, oh, you know, what are you talking about? You know, just learn to, you know, cut and contrive, as old people used to say. But that is one part. The hardest thing for a mother to do is to watch a child crying and you can't give him something to eat.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I, you know, I mean, we need to think about those parents, those single parent homes with 3 and 4 and 5 children, and maybe the father not working, can pay child support. You know, you're a lawyer, you probably see this in court every day, and then. And this is not a core part of our discussion, but perhaps one day I would like us to come and examine it straight in the eye, the debtor's prison. Because if you put a father in prison, how is that going to help the situation? In the meantime, you're embarrassing the child, and maybe sometimes some of these men, I'm not making an excuse for any of them, sometimes some of them really looking for jobs but can't find jobs. And so when the time comes for them to pay that, you know, that child support, they just don't have it. And then the system slams them behind 1840.
And when they come out, they still have to pay.
Exactly. And so, you know, but there's a number of things that as an island that is supposed to be progressive, we really need to start to look at now, because we really can, you know, continue to go on like this. I mean, people really are expecting a lot of politicians these days, and you are the political leader of a party, and I'm sure that when people interact with you and they share these things, they expect you to give them hope.
Yes, yes. I mean, just this morning, I mean, this is not on the food side. Just this morning, I got a telephone call from a gentleman from Nevis, and he was asking me, did you know that the dialysis unit was closed down for 2 weeks? I said I wasn't aware. And he said, as a result of that, some of them who normally go there for treatment, they had to travel overseas. And one such person had to travel to Colombia, and he's actually stuck in Colombia now with a bill because he cannot be released until that bill is paid. So I inquired whether or not the person got assistance from social services, and apparently the calls went unanswered, but he was in need of urgent medical attention and he had to travel.
Wow.
And so apart from the day-to-day issues that we face, persons with health conditions can't afford medication, can't afford treatment. It is something that we really need to deal with and nip in the bud before our people
start to die like flies. It's amazing. I heard something in passing on a news item. Apparently they were cleaning the equipment, they say. In fact, I think I heard Dr. Drew in one of his round table or media conferences spoke about it, that they were I guess recalibrating and resetting and cleaning the equipment. I'm not sure how much notice our people got, but even as you talk about the price of medication, because again, if you're saying that the quality of life is impacted, we also, from one of our listening tours, from one of PAM's listening tours, got information that this present government remove the subsidy from some cancer medication.
Yes.
You know, and so we know, well, I have heard of the exorbitant prices that people pay for cancer medication. And so could you imagine, in this kind of economy, this molasses economy as I have defined it, and having to pay the full price, this is just wickedness.
Heartless.
Having to pay, you remove the subsidy from the cancer drugs, and now people have to pay the full price for this drug in an economy that is just very flat and not doing anything. I mean, how can they sleep at night? What does the song say? I wonder if they sleep at night.
And that put extra burden on family members, because if that patient is not earning, here there you have that the disposable income for that family has decreased drastically because that person is unemployed. Plus, they now have to find the money for the treatment. And if they have children, as you said, I don't know, it is hard to have to watch your child in the face, not knowing what you're going to give them to eat.
Yes, it is. But I don't even want to begin to imagine that, because it makes me feel like I'm in some bottom of the list third world country. And I, as I say, against the backdrop of those figures that are being shared with the CBI revenues, we should not have found ourselves living under these conditions now. It is sad and it is shameful.
Very, very,
It is sad and it is shameful. You know, I go to church fairly regularly and I pray for this country. But sometimes even when you look at the collection plate, there is nothing. I mean, so this ripple effect, this ripple effect is being felt across the board. I mean, sometimes when you sit and you listen to the statements of affairs, even the church, you know, from the church treasurer, the receipts are falling like in the double digits, like some in one instance like 30-40%, because people just don't have it.
Yes.
People just don't have it to give anymore. And I mean, you know, the Bible said God loves a cheerful giver, but God is also God also knows that if you don't have it, you can't give it. You know, and yes, He does provide. And really, I think sometimes some of us just run on prayer. The only thing we have in our tank is prayer, because that is the only thing left right now for some people to get along in this country.
And luckily for us, with God, anything is possible.
Praise the Lord.
Sometimes I know people wonder if there is a God, wonder how they will get through certain situations, but when they look back and recognize that God puts His hand, and God has to intervene. God has to intervene and save this nation.
And He will. And He will. And I think one of the intervention could come with us trying to be our brother's keeper. And I want, when we speak on this program as a political organization, we also, you know, share solutions. And I know you just shared some there, but this might require us to go back to the days. And I saw this with my mother and so many of the neighbors. When somebody had pumpkin, somebody passed pumpkin over the fence and they traded for potato. Or somebody passed some tenure and dasheen and they got a hand of banana. Or breadfruit for some pop or something.
A bartering system.
Right, and we have to go back to being a more caring society, because it looks like this is how we're going to survive. And so, you know, even as a political party, I don't think it would harm if we start to preach the love your neighbor and share with your neighbor type of philosophy, because we really have to find a way to at least for now survive until the government change, when people start to thrive again. Because looking at the record of a People's Action Movement government, because our philosophy is steeped in providing not just a fish, but teaching people how to fish. I think that philosophy has served us well, and that is why in the 80s and the early 90s, when PAM was in power, people flourished. I mean, the people. I had a conversation recently with somebody, and I said, anybody remember anybody talking about any working class anymore? Because the middle class begin to expand in St. Kitts.
But I was told that from my parents, and I've read all the stories, and I have seen, based on our record, what we have done for the people of this country.
And we can do it again.
And we will.
We shall do it again. We shall do it again. And so people only need to dial back to those times when creative and visionary leadership of the People's Action Movement took this country out of some dark days. And those days we thought were long behind us, but suddenly, I guess life is cyclical, but it's cyclical based on who you put in office.
That's true.
But I want us to talk now about the bus phase, because I know that on the 1st of November, was it the 18th of November, sorry, yes, bus phase, took a hike. And from a place of care and concern, the People's Action Movement, led by you, of course, went to the 3 bus terminals, and we did something that impacted the lives of 126 people. We actually paid their bus fares. The total that we paid that day was approximately $800. Can we sustain that? No, but it's a start. Yes. And so I want now for us to take in the first 5 minutes of that presentation. So today we are here down at the ferry terminal,
I'm here with a number of persons from the executive on behalf of the People's Action Movement. Today marks the introduction of the increased bus fare. And so today, in a demonstration of care and compassion, we are about to show some concern. We're about to help the commuters in terms of getting home this afternoon. The increased bus fare, it has the impact of $10 increase to persons' finances. You find that having to pay $1 each way can not only impact an individual, but it will also impact a family. Hi, good afternoon. How are you? My name is Natasha Gray Brooks, the leader of the People's Action Movement. Today, we are about assisting the passengers to get home, and so we are covering the cost of the 14 passengers that are on board your bus today. We calculated that of maximum $5 per person, so this is $70, and this trip is complements the People's Action Movement. We understand that the increase in bus fare not only have an impact on the commuters, but as the bus operators, we know that you deserve to be able to feed your family members, and so we are ensuring that you get your payment today in relation to all the passengers that are currently on board. So can we offer you this $70 on behalf of all the passengers? Thank you. You're welcome. My name is Natasha Gray Brooks. I'm the leader of PAM. On behalf of the People's Action Movement, we would like to cover the bus fare for all the commuters this afternoon who are taking this trip. That would ensure, yes, this trip alone, we will be back, but this is the first of an initiative to be able to help and assist persons. That will ensure that your bus fare is covered and also that the commuters' bus ride home is covered. And so that could help them to be able to pay their bus fare for tomorrow. Is that something you would like to participate in? Well, I am, and I want you to cover all the bus commuters this afternoon. I know you don't have a full bus as yet, by the time you go up. So on behalf of the People's Action Movement, this is to cover the bus fare for all the passengers who are taking on this trip. All right? Thank you, and wish you a good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. How are you? My name is Natasha Gray Brooks. I'm the leader of the People's Action Movement. Today we want to offer all your passengers a complimentary bus ride home on behalf of the People's Action Movement. We know that the bus operators have been dealing with challenges, and so today is the increase in bus fares, and we want to cover that cost this afternoon. Would you want to participate in it so that all the bus commuters are covered and that you have your fees in hand right now? $70. 5 times 14, regardless of where they're going. We know it's $4.75 cap, but we're giving you $5 for each passenger. Yes? They haven't paid us yet? Yeah. But for this trip right here, whatever short trips you're covering, that has nothing to do with us. Okay? So, thank you very kindly. And so on behalf of the People's Action Movement, we wish you a safe passage, and we trust and hope that things will be renegotiated to be able to help both the operators and the commuters. Good afternoon. My name is Natasha Gray Brooks. I'm just letting you know that your bus fare is covered this afternoon on behalf of the People's Action Movement so that you can get from point A to point B. We understand that today is the first day of the increase in fare passengers. And so we are asking you just to think about it, and we are here to show that we care and that we are demonstrating compassion. So we wish you a safe trip home, and the bus fee is covered. Your bus driver has the fees already. Have a good day. We recognize that the bus fares have increased from today, and we want to cover the trip, this trip, on behalf of all the commuters. And we want to know if that is something that you'll be willing to participate in. We have an envelope with $70. We know it's 14 passengers. We have said $5 by 14. Whatever trips you have after that, you can deal with that. But we are covering this trip that leaves the ferry terminal. Okay. So, passengers, your trip this afternoon is sponsored by the People's Action Movement. We do hope and trust that going forward, the increased bus fare, you'll be able to manage your finances. But this is not the first of our initiative. We'll be back, and safe travels. All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we shared that little clip with you to get a visual, presentation of what PAM, out of a need to show compassion and care for our commuters, did on the last Monday, this Monday. Oh my goodness, the time is fleeting, and so sometimes you don't even know the days of the week. But just this Monday we did that. And I know we caught a number of bus operators and commuters off guard. People were like, really? No, really? But yes, PAM, we did that. As I said earlier, the cash outlay for us was about $800. We will be back because I think at the St. Peter's bus station, we fell short of a number of buses based on our own calculation. So we'll be back. And in fact, since then, I have had individuals who have reached out to me and said, look, I am prepared to cover the bus fares for commuters from Sandy Point for the rest of the year. And in the name of PAM. So we will just look at, identifying the most needy person and getting, and perhaps, I would recommend to people who want to help like that, maybe they look at a young lady,
Yes.
With children. So politically, I just want you to, to again weigh in on the importance of that initiative and
Yes.
some of the takeaways that you walked away with when it was done.
Some persons would look at it and say the maximum increase is just $1. But what does $1 mean for a mother? What does $1 mean for an elderly? What does $1 mean for someone who's unemployed? It means a whole lot. And so on Monday, when I looked at some of the faces, some of them were, you could see the surprise on their face, like, what is happening today? I've never seen this. But there was one gentleman who said, I don't pay, but he asked the bus driver, give me back my money because I can use this for something else. And that is what we have to look. Look at how the impact of the increase in bus fare, how that plays out on an individual, on their family. Now imagine if you're traveling from Sandy Point to town, well, sorry, Laverne would not have me say Sandy Point to town, but Sandy Point to Bastille,
if you please.
that's $4.75 one way. And that's $9 for an individual. Imagine if that person have 2 children to travel with them on that trip. And so you will find that that family has to pay an extra, let us say it's 2 children and an adult. That's an extra $1 for the adult and 50 cents for each child. So it's an extra $2 for the family a day. If it's 5 times a week, that's $10. So that particular family has to find $10 a week, $40 a month, and $480 a year. Where can they find that in this guava crop? This is something that persons have to recognize affects the daily living of a family. Then a week time, that's $10 less you have for buying food. Food which we recognize have already been going through the roof. If it is that person has a mortgage to pay or rent, let's say it's a cheap mortgage or rent, $400, you're taking away monthly $40 from your ability to pay your mortgage. And if you are on minimum wage, I can bet your sweet life that with this increase, the increase in food, that person would have to pay National Bank if they're banking at National Bank. If their account falls under $100, $6.70, $5 plus VAT. And so you find that persons might think, oh, it's only $1. But when you look at how some of the faces were on Monday, when they recognized they had an additional spending power, one young lady, Lavin, I don't know if you recall, she said, I had to choose today whether I could have lunch or not so that I can catch.
College student for that matter. College student.
We say that the youth are our future. And if our young persons cannot move from where they're living to go and get an education because of an increase in bus fare, what will become of us? What will become of us? So we really need to look at how our people are impacted. Every dollar counts. And we saw that on Monday. We saw that 126 persons were placed in a position that they can pay their bus fare the next day because they didn't have to pay it on Monday afternoon. And a number of persons also have reached out to me and said they love the initiative. They know that it is one that will cost money, but they are willing to commit because they recognize that some persons just don't have it. And as we go along, there were a number of increases for this month, bus fare being one. The Labour administration, they really need to have a conversation with our bus operators. Renegotiate this thing. See how we can pedal back from a decision that has been made and see what concessions can be offered to our bus operators. See what subsidies can be given to our young persons and elderly. This is something that the People's Action Movement will be definitely looking at because we need to look after our elderly. We need to look after our young persons. Our retired persons, they must retire with dignity. Not that they should be struggling and looking at how am I going to make it through this day. It is very heartbreaking when persons, you recognize the challenges that many of our citizens are going through. And I think that apart from this, the People's Action Movement can do other initiatives. You mentioned the food drive, and this is something that we can look at. Many of us clean our cupboards during the Christmas period. You're going to throw away some things that you didn't even recognize you had to the back of the cupboard. We need to approach, someone suggested it, approach supermarkets and see how they can help. And we get a pantry to help those persons who are really in need. The People's Action Movement has always been about putting people first. And we are going to do it not just to our commuters, to our family members, to our homeowners, to our bus operators. The bus operators, I think they were forced into this bus increase because the necessary dialogue was not being had. And so, you know, they too have families. They too have families, and we are not saying that they should not have gotten an increase. It could have been incremental with the necessary discussions with the government to be able to offer them some sort of relief to help them with the maintenance of their vehicles, their insurance premiums. Some of them have their buses on hire purchase. And so we also have to look at that to strike that balance because we don't want a situation where public transportation is no longer available. So I am very glad that the People's Action Movement took that initiative on Monday. I was happy to be a part of it. And I would definitely encourage anyone who wants to be a part of that program so that whenever we can offer it again, it continues to impact the lives of our people for the better.
Well said, political leader. And what is so funny in all of this is that when you understand the history of a Labour Party who came, you know, I mean, they were considered the party for the grassroots. No, the very people who are being affected, the very commuters who are being impacted by this price increase, this fare hike for the buses, some of them are their own people.
Yes.
And so you wonder, like you were just saying, you know, they are living in a place that is totally different to where their own supporters are living, in a place and a space, a mental space, to the extent that you want to know, well, you know, how did we get here? Why is it that when you look at them and look at us, you see the stark difference, you know, in the way that they even the way that they behave these days. And so it's almost as if, I mean it's probably no concern of us in this party, but it's almost that there's a shift away from the initial reason why you know, the Labour Party existed. They're grassroots people. They're the ones who are now feeling the greatest pinch with a Labour government in office.
Yes.
I mean, nothing could be more ironic than that. Nothing could be more ironic than that. But I want to say that, you know, I was personally touched by the young lady who shared the story, the college student. In fact, there were two of them that the political leader just mentioned. And I was personally touched when she said, I could not even afford my lunch today because I didn't want not to be able to pay the bus for him to grab me up, or well, I guess maybe the bus driver sometimes embarrasses people, I don't know. And so that really touched me to the extent that we actually gave that young lady $10 for her to buy lunch the next day, because I can't. The thing is, one cannot adequately concentrate when you're hungry.
That's true.
And so I can't imagine a college student sitting in a class all day and foregoing lunch. How was she able to concentrate for the balance of that day?
And at some point she's going to start to feel weak.
Exactly. And so that is one of the things. That is the quality of life we're talking about that is being affected by this stifling, you know, chokehold that the government has on its people. So one has to, and not everybody, sometimes not everybody would share the story.
That's true.
Because we were even asking the young lady if she wanted to go on camera to say it, but she was afraid. You know, I mean, I had to ask her if she's registered to vote, because they said, look, I want you to remember this day so that when election comes, you know how to vote. I mean, after all, we're a political party.
Yes.
And so these are the things that are going to weigh on people's mind. These are the things that are going to stay with people for a long time. The fact that they were thrust into poverty. I mean, from a place where they were fairly comfortable to now where people are struggling and could barely make ends meet. And you wonder, how did we get here? How did we get
in
here?
such a short space of time?
In such a short time. And like you rightly said, political leader, how is it that during COVID, when we had four members of government in parliament, how were they able to manage the economy in a way that is much better now post-COVID? I mean, maybe we should send them to sit at cabinet meeting and give them some advice one day.
It'll pop up.
Or why? We promise to do a pop up in cabinet.
But I think the country needs a reset. Because this administration is stifling our people. We are gasping for breath. And at some point in time, there will be no more air to breathe, and we can't allow that.
They may even charge us for the air. Who knows?
This is a do or die situation. It is about time that we put ourselves in the position to replace what is presently in Church Street, because
they wouldn't do.
Our people cannot deal with this anymore. It is too much. 2.5 years? It seems like 40 years.
Yeah, in the wilderness.
It feels like a lifetime. When you look at how many persons are living paycheck to paycheck, can't make any. Sometimes some of them are in the negative at the end of a month. Like, how much more can our people take?
Yeah. It is very hurtful and alarming. Somebody was reminding me, I think we had a conversation on Monday after we did that activity with the bus drivers, and somebody was reminding me that in Sandy Point, I don't know if you know where Benjax is in Mount Ivy.
Yes.
She said, could you imagine if somebody came shopping by Benjax? She said, okay, maybe they walk from Cleverly Hill, which is the very top, and they walk to Benjax. She said, could you imagine they have to now pay $3.50 for a short drop?
From Sandy Point to Sandy Point?
Yeah. No, and I mean, and that is the new reality. And I said, girl, I said, if you hadn't told me that, I would, because the dollar was also added to short drops. So that is considered a short drop.
So from one end of Sandy Point to the other end,
$3.50.
$3.50?
Yes. And so, it is a vexing and troublesome matter, because it means that somebody probably have to put back maybe a tin of Vienna sausage, or maybe the milk that we just looked at.
Or they might have to put on
be able to pay the bus fee to carry home
the exercise gear and walk with the groceries.
Exactly.
It's unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate. Somebody recently said that you have to take the money to pay for the groceries in the grocery bags now and come out with the goods in your handbag, because it's reversed now. So you take the money to the grocery store in the grocery bags, and you put the stuff in your handbag coming out, because it's like you can't get anything for the money that you're paying with. But it might be, on the surface it might seem like, they'll get over it, but this is the daily reality of people's lives here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I know sometimes people in the diaspora don't get to hear these kind of details, and they only see and hear what the government pushes it out through their own medium, the SKNIS and whichever other media is in the pocket of the government. But at the end of the day, this is the stark, cold reality that people are living here with on a daily basis. A short drop from Ben Jack's in Mount Idle to Cleverly Hill for somebody who went shopping is $3.50, over $1 US.
That has to resonate with someone.
Exactly.
And if it's not resonating with the government, then
clearly
something is wrong.
Yes.
Something is wrong, because, as you indicated, the Prime Minister sits at a round table. He has these discussions. But is he taking the concerns of our people seriously? Because had he been doing so, he would have recognized that our people are hurting. They're hurting at the very core.
He's tone deaf.
Very cool. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I recognize that the Labour administration, they were very good at campaigning, but governing is a problem for them.
Yeah. They needed a dry run. Just before we wrap up the conversation I just want us to just have a look. I want to give and especially our overseas view, a visual of the new rates, the new bus fares, and as it relates to a family of one, and I think up to a family of two. So they're right there on the screen. So with the increase that came into effect on Monday, for one person, that means an extra $10 in a week. Obviously, in a month, that would be $40. Over the course of a year, it's $480. This is only for one individual. As you use the example, just imagine a mother traveling with 2 children, or a mother traveling with 2 young adults. They might be working, maybe on minimum wage as well. So you multiply this $480 by 3, depending on the number in the household that are working adults, and this is significant. And maybe, we shared some suggestions on our Facebook page, and maybe we should speak to them here again. That perhaps people should think about carpooling again, the neighborly concept. Yes. We need to get back to loving our neighbors and being kind to each other, so that we share, we bear the burden. I once heard a saying that when you share your sorrow with somebody, it is halved and pleasure is doubled. So I think we need to go back to that neighborly concept, so that if you get along with a neighbor, lighter. If you get along with a neighbor, and you could offer the person a ride on a daily basis, maybe at the end of the month they can give you something for wear and tear and for gas, but it would probably be less than what you would have to fork out if it is you have to pay the full bus fare. Or for people who maybe come to town to pay their bills, if you're living in a neighborhood, say on a project, you could say,
I'll pay my bill for 2 of my neighbors.
You knock on the door and you say, give me electricity bill, and then say, okay, I'll give you something for your bus fare. But we have to find a way. I mean, our people are resilient. We're resilient by nature. I mean, we went through this. We were enslaved people, and sometimes it feel like enslavement again that the government has us under. But we will get through. And we will get through this together. So I want our people to go back to being creative. I hope we don't have to go back to 3 firestones.
I wasn't during that era, but I might have to learn.
Mind you, the food really was tasty. Maybe it's the addition of the smoke in it. But But really and truly, you know, we are really pedaling back. We have
Yes.
gone back. We have, St. Kitts and Nevis have fallen back by a few years in terms of where we are now and where we ought to have been. Again, based on the revenues that we're hearing about in the CBI. We should not have been in this position. I'm not even a candidate. So, political leader, before I get carried away, I just want you to sum up the conversation this evening, because I think we need to, as a political party, leave people with some hope.
Yes.
All is not lost. And yes, you could ask people to hold strain for so long and no more, but we need to find a way to demonstrate as a political party that we will make a difference. Yes. I began to do some research on the Barbados model, for instance, where public transportation is I think, either completely subsidized or significantly subsidized by the government for senior citizens. Mm-hmm. I actually saw that they recently introduced a card where you use your card and you tap it on the thing at the door, then it gives you clearance to enter. And I hope that when we start to build out our own manifesto, these are things that we can look at. Our senior citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis deserve better. Yes. So I would really like to see us either subsidize their bus transportation, or maybe altogether done away with them having to pay bus fees. And so too to our young people. So I'm going to give you the next, we're out of time, but the next 3-4 minutes to wrap up this conversation and give our people some hope.
Yes. Now, the past 2.5 years has demonstrated to our people that there is a difference, a stark difference between the Labour administration and the People's Action Movement. We will cut no corners when it comes to that. And so the People's Action Movement has shown you in the past that we are for the people. We are about putting people first. What we have faced over the past 2.5 years in relation to our economy, it's not moving. Our people feel that they are stifling. The prices, yes, there are certain outside influences, but our government has a job to do and they are not doing it. Our people should not have to be thinking about their next meal, how they will survive, and what they can eat. Some people bear hunger, as we have just learned. And this country, we need to step and rise above that. And we can't rise above that with Dr. Drew and his team. It is time for us to take a stand. This is the time where the People's Action Movement, more than ever, will continue to champion your cause. We will stand in the gap for you. There are so many persons who are afraid to speak because they are working for government or their family members are working for government. But we will not be silenced. We will speak on your behalf. We will champion every cause, whether it is electricity, food, bus fares. We will continue to provide solutions that you will recognize are people-centered and people-focused. As Laverne would have indicated, one of the things that we are looking at is our elderly and our young persons. We must protect these persons within our society because our youth, our future. Our elderly has worked for us over the many years and they must retire and live in dignity for the rest of their lives. We shouldn't have mommy or daddy walking from Cleverly Hill to Ben Jack's shop because they cannot afford $3.50. We are better than that. As a people, we will continue to push for you because St. Kitts and Nevis deserves better. Our people deserves better. This is not the time for us to go back. As I indicated, somehow this feels worse than COVID, when COVID was here. So many people have been sharing their concerns. I listen to them daily, and I will continue to listen to them. Whatever the People's Action Movement can do to help our people. We don't have a treasury filled with money, but we will continue to find unique and creative ways to solve the problems. Because sometimes it's not all about jumping up and speaking the loudest. It is about being people-centered and people-focused and being there to show that you care. And so the People's Action Movement, going forward, you will see and hear more of us because the problems are real. They are facing us in every day. every day as we go along, we continue to be hit with something as if, somebody has thrown a ton of bricks on us. And we will move away, we will chip away at the labor ton of bricks as we go along and ensure that our people are placed in safe and secure hands. And so I will look forward to coming back again and talking on any topic that is really touching and concerning the people, because we are not going to be disconnected like the Labour administration, and there is a price to pay for disconnection.
Thank you, political leader. In fact, she will be back every third Thursday in November, in the month rather. So there's a third Thursday, and so hereafter in each month she will be back on this program on Perspectives to share whatever is the current issue, whatever issue that requires her to share with you, our viewers and our listeners. So thank you, Madam Political Leader.
It was my pleasure.
And as we wind up, we just want to remind you of a few things. Of course, our secretariat is open on Saturdays, but we want to draw your attention to an event that we are having on the 21st of December. This is a breakfast event, and the menu was shared in a meeting that I heard, and I don't know, that is like a bellyful breakfast. So we're going to have mackerel and dumpling and saltfish and green banana and sauce and eggs and bacon and omelets and all sorts of things. I mean, for $25. But while you're there, it's the 21st of December. It's Christmas week. And so we say, you know what? While we have them there, let's just ease the pressure from them and sell them a nice food cake at a reasonable price. So if you did not order your food cake by that time, and please don't even bother to order now that we're giving you a month's notice. A month's notice. Come and get your food cakes while you have, at the same event. But here's what is really so good. There is also going to be a number of pre-loved items for giveaways. Bicycles, trampoline, toys, clothing, curtains, houseware, maybe even appliances, all for free. You don't have to pay 1 cent. But of course, for you to be able to get anything free, the bicycles or whatever free, you obviously have to buy a ticket for $25. So you'll get this big belly full of breakfast, and then you'll be able to purchase your Christmas cake before you leave. And upon leaving, you'll take anything you want from the giveaway section. Bicycle, trampoline, toys, curtain, appliances, radio, television perhaps. I don't know. I'm told that these things that are going to be there would leave people maybe fighting for them, because people would not be able to believe that we're giving away those kinds of things. So we hope to see you on the 21st. Please reach out to us and ask us to get a ticket, because you have to get in the door with a ticket to begin with. And so we hope that you'll capitalize on this. And this is another way that the People's Action Movement is ensuring that all of us have a bright and Merry Christmas. As the political leader just said, whatever it is that we can do, we shall do to make sure that people are ease of the day-to-day stress and troubles of this life, and most of all at Christmas, to have an enjoyable Christmas. Christmas is a time when we normally lay back and forget all the sorrows and the burdens of this world. So come and get your free stuff, get your breakfast, and get your food cake when you're leaving for purchase. Thank you so much for looking at this 17th edition of Perspectives. We'll be back next week, all being well. And until then, please take good care of yourselves and of each other. We'll see you again next Thursday.
We love to serve our country that God has blessed so well. In peace and love and happiness, we will forever dwell. We ask for God's protection and guidance on our way. The people People's Action Movement will strive from day to day. The People's Action Movement